like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for finding the time joining us today. I'm pleased to co-host that webinar with Rudy from Digital Taxonomy. For a while already, we have been in a conversation, a few colleagues here at Nebu and from the Digital Taxonomy, we've been talking about the challenges of modern times, how technology is advancing day to day. It's becoming more intelligent. We're talking about Internet of Things, our phones, our fridges, our cars, whole houses talking to each other, sharing data, making our life easier, sometimes with a little of even no interference of us humans in that whole process. And how much this situation put a strain on the marketing research industry as such, and how it's our responsibility, as a software provider, to also facilitate you, our clients, in offering solutions that can meet those needs, the needs of respondents, the standards that they're getting more and more used to. And on top of it, well, that's why we this year here at Nebu, we released that new functionality, advanced HTTP request calls. Pretty much you can make a call to any API to retrieve the right data at the right time, to use that data for improving your questionnaire routing, to improve your respondent or your interviewer experience. And we decided to use our technologies. Digital Taxonomy have this amazing, several tools. Rudy will explain how it all works, how everything is connected. But we decided to focus for this webinar on using advanced HTTP request call to Codeit, to their tool to retrieve sentiment, and to use that to improve, scrutinize NPS questionnaire. We will show in more details. A few comments about what you will actually see today. This is a comment especially important for people who are not familiar with Nebu, our data collection tools. We decided for this particular webinar to focus on creating an NPS questionnaire for many reasons that I will also mention. One thing is it's just a very short questionnaire. It's perfect for actually demoing such case. But also, please keep in mind that with our tools, you can collect data in any mode and for any purpose. Scripters use the same user interface with a single scripting environment for both CATI, telephonic research, online, mobile, offline data collection, and everything can be collected to a single database. So even though we are focusing on presenting you an online survey, an NPS online survey, you might as well use that logic for improving your telephonic CATI interviews. The core of this webinar is to show you how easy you can take advantage of connecting with those API calls to third-party tools, mainly to Digital Taxonomy, to the Codeit. And also we are making a few calls to trigger action to third party. So it's not only pulling the data, but also pushing the data. With our advanced HTTP request call, there are a few things you can do with your data. You can post, put, delete, patch, get data. So it's really flexible. And whatever we will show you today, it's just to inspire you. Really, the sky's the limit. We can do much more together, depending on what you need. The goal of using those calls is to be able to create more relevant, smart questionnaires that ask the right question at the right time. With flexible tool as Nebu Dub InterViewer is, you can really create very sophisticated conditions for routings that will not only benefit your respondents but also might be of help to your interviewers. everything we do is so we can help you increase your efficiency, effectivity. You really would like to take as much advantage as you can from machine learning and AI scripts, so your interviewers can really focus on working in areas that where their involvement can bring the most benefits. You don't want to make them do repetitive tasks over and over. There is a lot that technology can cover for us. Of course, higher completion rates, that's the goal here, due to offering the more relevant surveys. Even if we are asking about loyalty towards our coffee brand, if in an open answer someone says that a salesman was rude, you might directly in real time reroute them to a different questionnaire where you ask a bit more about that experience they had. So you can really take advantage of the initial engagement of your respondent. And of course, using advanced HTTP request calls, those API calls, to actually trigger actions. So in real time, you can make your data actionable. This is what we will touch upon today. As I mentioned, for the purpose of this demonstration, we are focusing on an NPS questionnaire. For a few reasons. Of course, it's a very popular marketing concept, for years used by so many companies. I guess it's very popular also due to the fact that almost everyone uses it. So it's really easy to benchmark yourself against the competitors. Another reason is that it's just a perfect opportunity to actually trigger actions and to see how much benefits you can get because of using those advanced HTTP request calls, and how useful a call to Codeit can be in terms of analyzing an open answer questions. Since 2003, when NPS has been introduced to the market as a concept, there is a lot of discussion about how relevant actually it is, and some of rather negative comments are in regards to NPS not always giving you an actual context of why particular score has been given, or why there is a change in the score you're getting. And this is something that with the help of the right tools like Codeit you can figure out. And the other disadvantage of NPS is that usually you get the score, you compare yourself against other players on the market, but often there is nothing happening with the data. So also having the right tools, having those real-time calls, you can actually trigger actions and you can sort of take it further automatically. And we will show how it's done. I will present 4 flows. There are 3 scenarios. As you can see, there's always a score that is given, always an open answer. And there are 3 main actions, though for creating tickets, we have 2 different flows. So there will be 4 flows. And also what I would like to mention is that we have prepared 2 questionnaires. It's sort of the same questionnaire, but one is meant as a front-end questionnaire where we show you the whole flow from a respondent point of view. It will be much faster if I just go through the questionnaire without showing the background, and then you will see an actual action triggered in real time. And later on, Rudy will take over with the back-end questionnaire where we show how Codeit in real time gives us back information about the sentiment and a few other entity types. Rudy will explain everything in details. So yes, I think it's time I start with the flow. First flow in the NPS questionnaire. In the first one, my goal is to actually have a real-time review published on a landing page I have created for the purpose of this demonstration. But in case of our coffee demo or a coffee brand, it might as well be a page with reviews for on an online shop, for example. It's up to you. The sky's the limit. So in that flow, I'm focusing on the answers, on the completes that of the respondents who gave the score of 9 or 10. Of course, they are the promoters. Then we analyze the open text. There is a first API call to, I think we use Microsoft Translate, to a translator. And open answer, the survey is, the questionnaire is multilingual. I will also show that. So the first call is to auto translation services. And then that particular translated option is being picked by Codeit. A side remark, that translation part can be also done on the Codeit side right away, but since we are promoting our new functionality, we wanted to use that one on our side. And here, in case there is a real-time review published, I need to make sure that it's a very positive one. I don't want to have anything published without like my approval if it's not 100% super extra positive. And yeah, I cannot allow for any mixed messages to appear there. Also, in case of posting something on a review page on an online shop, I would like to make sure that only the reviews that are really about the brand are being posted. So even though there are a few more conditions in the background, I need to keep it relatively easy to tell the story. The main conditions here is that that the brand name in that open answer has to be recognized, and there can be exclusively only strong positive sentiment. Rudy will tell about it in more details later on, but there are actually there is a 5-point scale of a sentiment. And in case of long open answers, long verbatims, at the same time, they might be like 7 different sentiments recognized. So only the ones that are only strongly positive will be published. And from here, I would like to start showing the flow. This is the review page I have created for the purpose of this demonstration. As you can see, on purpose, in one of my previous testing, I posted a review in a weird language, in Polish. So you can see that this is the last one, and the next one will follow. From here, I will go to my questionnaire. I have also pre-prepared the open answer, so it gets faster. I will complete the first one, the first flow in Dutch language. One is to show you the multilingual capacities and the actual real-time translated API call. So I will fill it in as a 9. I will give the score of 9 as we need to be a promoter. Then I will copy my open answer where I say that I'm like completely crazy about Douwe Egberts coffee and it's the best in the world. And this is it. This is our questionnaire, right? This is the part that respondents get. I set up a landing page on our coffee panel, but it's not that relevant. And from here, let me go to our review page. I will refresh the view. As you can see, the review is posted directly from the questionnaire in a split of seconds, and the API call is picking the translated text. But the previous example shows that it's also just a question of a setting. Just this is up to you what you decide to happen in that advanced HTTP request call. You might all as well want to post a native language, or you can create some more sophisticated rules, just picking some conditions to be met, some languages to be posted. Okay. The next flow. In the next flow, I focus on creating tickets to the support team. I think it's a quite important step in making your NPS questionnaire actionable. And in that case, in the case of the first of those ticket flows, I'm focusing on detractors, so people who gave a score from 0 to 6. And because it's quite a, the range is quite big here, so there might be quite a lot of negative answers, and at the same time I do not want to flood the support team with too many tickets being created. So for the purpose of that flow, we are focusing only on the negative answers that actually also includes the brand name, and they contain exclusively strong negative sentiment. So it has to be really something absolutely terrible regarding the brand name that is happening, and then we can look into details. Of course, you don't have to act upon anything, right? You can just delete that ticket, but you have the ability to get a little bit more insight into what is happening, why people are giving the particular score. And to present that flow, first, I would like to show you we have created Asana dashboard. You can, of course, connect to any other tool you're using. We have two different dashboards here for detractors and from promoters. As you can see, there are none tickets at that particular moment in time. And from here, I would like to demonstrate that second flow. I will already copy my my text. Well, that one is pretty easy. Could have typed it. Okay, English. And I have to be a detractor, so let me just give a score of 3. And what was wrong with my experience? DE coffee tastes awful. Yeah. Well, I will just close that window so I don't get confused. And from here, let me go back to the dashboard with tickets from our detractors. As you can see, a ticket from Małgorzata. I am a panel member. What you're seeing, what you see, those questionnaires are actually closed questionnaires with encrypted URLs. And here you can see what was the comment. And from here, as you can see, it was just published now. From here, you can take all the advantages that the third-party tool gives. You can create topics. You can include a link to a follow-up telephonic conversation, interview, really whatever you need to make it happen. You can, of course, monitor the progress of a ticket or just simply delete it, which better not to do. Okay, and the next flow also including creating tickets to the support team. And from my personal perspective as a manager of our coffee demo project, it's super important to know whether actually a promoter, someone who is very loyal and really liking our brand, whenever they have any negative experience with our brand. So in that case, I don't even have to know that they are using the name brand. Anything that goes wrong for people who anyway gives you the 9 or 10, I would like to look into that. So in that flow, I'm really focusing on such comments that include any kind of weak or strong or weak negative sentiment. And then right away, there is a ticket created to the Asana. That kind of information can give you really a lot of insights into what is happening in your company. Oh, yeah. So here I have to be a promoter. I will give the score of 10, and then I will write that, yeah, DE is the best coffee, and I really find it extremely well done, good. And the only thing is that lately I had a really bad experience with a salesman. And of course, people don't give you that much, not necessarily give you a lot of information to know where, who, when. These are all the information that you might get when you're able to follow up with your respondent. And if we go to the promoter's dashboard, as you can see, a ticket from me just posted right now, the content, and because I'm a panel member, you can easily reach out for further information. The last flow I would like to show you before the last front end flow is the one where we focus on on our passives, on people who are not really decided yet what will happen if they keep buying or not, if they recommend us to a friend or a colleague or not. And this is the group that we can actually try to convert into our promoters. And to do so, we have created a flow where, well, when someone gives a score of 7 or 8, they are being asked if there is something we could do to wow you. So the question already implies there will be some kind of, hopefully there will be some kind of positive, proactive idea that we can use to drive the change in the company. So in that case, we pick upon the callbacks from Codeit that are not only about sentiment. Rudy will mention there is much more that we get than only a sentiment. And for those comments, we are also looking for any indication of a general request or contact request. And we also check that there is no weak or strong negative sentiment recognized in the open answer. As I mentioned, we are looking for this proactive idea, for some cool ideas how we can drive the change. And if those conditions are being met, then we have created a flow in which an email is being sent to an imaginary innovation team to look into details. And from here, let me present that flow. So I have to be a passive. I will give a score of 7. And my comment is that I would be wooed if the price could be decreased. And this is what I will submit. This is our panel. From here, the questionnaires are also available. And then I'm going to my email. Emails are being sent regularly. Sometimes it takes up to a minute to send an email. And it's of course up to you to whom you specify the email, from whom. Coffee NPS, of course, it's up to you what you write in your email, how it looks like. You can customize everything. So in that case, I'm telling myself, me being an innovation team member, that someone gave a score of 7, and what was the comment, who was the person, if I wish to follow up with them for further information. And this would conclude the front end part. I want to mention that yeah, this is just to inspire you. There might be a much more different advanced HTTP call request, and yeah, don't hold yourself back. If you don't have in your company people who actually write that kind of calls, know how to read API documentation, also it's not an issue. With our help, we can make it work. And from here, Rudy, how about you take over and show the back end, what is really happening here in the background?
Well, great, thank you. That was great. I was just thinking, you know, with all the fun geofencing and things we do with our phones these days and SMS messages, you could potentially send a text message to the person as they enter the comment, if they were in the store, something like that, at their coffee shop. Loads of fun things you could do.
Oh, and we will. There will be more coming up. Yeah.
Make everyone feel like we're watching you buy coffee. Right. So what I'm going to try to do here is deconstruct the back end piece and just show you all the little moving parts. It's not meant to be super technical. I am going to show some API call fun and to kind of acquaint you to what all this information looks like in Codeit, because of course, all the findings and all the automation and all the answers from the Nebu survey are available to people who are making decisions on that data, whether they're coders or analysts or report developers. And certainly this is all happening in near-time, real-time situation. So let's take the survey again in English, because that's all I got. And I should say in American English. I'm going to be a promoter. And I am going to paste in my super long one because I don't want to type it. The reason why I want to show you, like Gosha said, you know, we're going to try to carve this verbatim up into as many significant linguistic pieces as we can, assign sentiment where we can, do the best job we can. And so this verbatim has good and bad and requests in it. And so in the debug screens, then in the Nebu survey, they're collecting the information that they need to trigger those actions. There's a lot more information that is returned in the API call and indeed in the text analytics. And so there are other things you might choose to use in here. You see, we're trapping profanity in that, but we decided not to be profane today. But certainly if people are swearing at you, you might want to know that. And then those findings then trigger the three different types, well, 3 or 4 different types of actions. The review going to HubSpot, promoter ticket, and then the 2 sort of detractor tickets, the really bad one and the one we want to try to sway. So that's all happening there, and there's no difference to that. Let's take a look at what's happening now and see how well I do here. There we go. So let's walk over to the Codeit side of the discussion now. And so Codeit is a full standalone verbatim coding environment. It's offered software as a service. So loads of people in different languages and countries can log in and literally code verbatims. That's kind of the core offering, but there's a lot more to it. And most of our focus is not on replicating that ancient tradition of verbatim coding, but trying to figure out ways to automate the human decisions that are being made. So we'll just focus on the API side of this right now. And so this is the general cycle. The Nebu InterViewer package sends a comment to the API. The API very quickly, and I'll show you how quickly, produces findings and results from, and many findings actually in many different entities from that one verbatim, which are then fed back to the interviewer package. And of course, they're using the select findings that are connected to the actions, the triggerable actions in their survey. So it's pretty simple loop. And as I said, all those findings then and all that information is also available in the Codeit backend. So people could be coding things, or you could even find that people are saying certain things and alter the survey that way. So the API is definitely communicating with Codeit at the same time as it is with Nebu InterViewer. So let's try to do this with a picture. This is really a hard thing to show people because it is a bit new. Here's our verbatim. And you see I've highlighted lots of things that were found. And these, in fact, were most of the entities that were found in this verbatim. And so we're picking a few select findings that are helpful to us. One is just a text segment. Someone said, I can't say it, Doyekbert coffee is the best coffee. That's a significant linguistic thing to say, and so we can capture that. We're going to say that that's positive. In fact, we're going to score it 2 on our 5-point scale. So the 5-point scale is a +2 to -2. So a 2 is a strong positive comment. And it's because the expression, which is another finding, best, was associated with the brand. And again, we can highlight that string in the verbatim, and I'll show you that in a minute, to help people who are looking at these findings and deciding whether or not to code them in specific ways. So there's a simple one. Let's look at another one, do a couple of these. So their coffee is so amazing. Strong positive, amazing coffee. And there's the segment. One more slow one. Perfect combination of strength. Another strong positive. So we got 3 in a row because it's a perfect combination of strength. These are all automated findings. Each one of those findings to the right of the colon there are automatically generated by the API and by our text analytics and sentiment analysis. So there's a lot more in here. Here's an interesting one. This is one of these requests where someone has said you should improve the distribution. So it's somewhat helpful in improvement situations where people are making requests. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, it would be better if. These are things that you lack, but people would, they're basically a positive statement, but they're telling you you don't have that. So that we do carve those up. And if someone does, in fact, say, please call me immediately, then that would be a contact request that Nebu could send directly to their call center. Here's our first negative. They had a terrible experience. That's a -2, so that's a strong negative, terrible experience. We got another one. They're disgusted with their experience. So there's another significant segment of text that we can assign reliable sentiment to and actually assign a topic. We know what the sentiment concerns. And finally, they end the whole thing, but say, I like it anyway. So you can see a real mix in here.
Yeah. Excuse me, Rudy, I got a message that not everyone is seeing your screen. Is that true? Could you let me know in the chat? Because if so, then people are missing.
It says I'm sharing it.
Yeah, I know. I can see it. I just, yeah, people can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's fine. It's all fine. I just got one comment and I wanted to make sure, but it's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Technology, what
Yeah.
fun. Thankfully, we're recording this, so we'll see. And so, you know, those back-end findings are what are feeding all of these Nebu decisions within the survey. So the key is, of course, as you might imagine, this has to happen very quickly. And so just to show you the speed, I'm going to go into our API environment. This is not a user interface that you would play with unless you were a developer, and in fact you can. And you know, we have all of our API calls available in here. I'm going to focus on the text analytics one. And so here's our verbatim. And just to give you a sense of the timing, if that verbatim were sent, it's done. So we're talking milliseconds here before we start finding those significant phrases, and you'll see quite a few more in there as well. Amazing and perfect. And so all those things and more are found within milliseconds and sent back to the survey. That's the key, because you know, you're going to make that decision on the very next question. You know, and just so you know, I'm not being a salesperson here. I can type something like, I love the taste, and send it, and it's done. And now it's different findings. Strong sentiment because love taste, love the taste. So it's very fast. And that's obviously quite important. A better user interface to use, of course, I would suggest is Codeit, where I can take all that same information and display it to people in various ways, depending on what they're after. Traditional coding, just general exploration of verbatims, reports, things like that. So we can make the text more a part of the live analysis in this study and not wait for things to come back to us days later. So let's take a look at that. I'm actually in the Codeit interface here now. I just want to wake it up. It's one of our several ways of viewing verbatim data and applying codes to it. It's called block coding. But here's our verbatim. You know, it's been sent to Codeit. Like I said, that you can be feeding these verbatims directly to Codeit. But as I also mentioned, it comes with all of that information, all those suggestions, as we call them. And you have a lot of control as to saying, look, if the suggestion is so good, just go ahead and apply the code. Or no, show it to me and I'll decide. And no matter which way you go here, you're always in the back, you're continually teaching Codeit and our algorithms which are the better decisions. And so we can amplify and make more good decisions and try to increase the percentage of coverage of automated coding, either entire comments or just around certain themes. You know, if we really want to teach it something specific, that's what's happening here. So this is a coding interface, but you'll see everything's highlighted. I can actually show you that, you know, in this case, I'm doing something called topic coding, where I'm just coding all the topics. And so if I look at this, some of these boxes are solid, and that means I've allowed Codeit to apply the code. Some of them are dotted, which means it's up to me to say, well, you know, I agree, I'm going to apply that. All I have to do is click on it, and it's down here. And by doing that, I've just taught Codeit a little bit about what makes coffee amazing. People say the coffee is so amazing. You could imagine in many tens of thousands of coffee surveys about Douwe or some other brand, people say similar phrases when you get them this small. So it's kind of like making a database of small things that people say, and then you pick the categories. I could add that comment about the salesperson being rude. That seems important. And you see you've got awesome and love it and lucky. And so there are a lot of suggestions for this verbatim. And that's true for all the verbatims. We actually have some more live verbatims from this. So you can see here, I can show lots of suggestions are appearing. This is kind of a real estate game here. You look and see how much of the verbatim is being covered by suggestions. That means you're getting a lot of good information out of the API call and the text analytics, and you can help guide the coders to then apply the correct codes. So this is actually what it looks like in Codeit. And again, there are lots of different displays you can use here, just helping people traditionally code data. Something that's interesting to us, we get a lot of requests for people who aren't interested in using all that information specifically to create a code frame and code data for some more traditional tabulation report. We call it theme exploration. A lot of analysts and client service people are actually completing the coding these days. And so what they're more interested in is how quickly can you tell me the major themes that are appearing in my content? And so we have another view that takes all that information, and with a little bit more clustering, we'll try to pick these larger ideas that are showing up and allow you to see the comments and allow you to see the sentiment and try to judge which themes are more positive and negative, or which pieces of themes are positive and negative. For instance, taste here is a kind of a large grouping, and it's obviously a coffee study, so a lot of people are talking about the taste. I can drill down one more layer here if I can get there we go. So again, we're exploring themes, we're looking at things, we're not really coding yet. However, when you get to the point where you like the level of the themes, you can indeed start to add them to your code frame or your list of important ideas, and then you are in fact coding the data, but through this more general interface, you know, around larger ideas that appear in sentiments.
Yeah, that also gives ability to focus on particular aspects, right? That's yeah.
It's so, you know, the thing I keep stressing here is that everything you're doing here, you're just teaching Codeit to be smarter about this type of content.
Yeah.
So I will go back.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that part. We will actually go into much more details in the next webinar. We are already planning. Then we will use that theme explorer and based on some category recognition, we will create really fancy, smart routings to show you how can we take it even further.
Yeah, and you know, all this data is also available to, I know Nebu has a great dashboard reporting tool. So you could indeed be designing dashboards that are updating themselves as often as you wish with all the new information. So all those small pieces of information and the other entities that I find and the codes that are applied by the machine learning are always available in any kind of reporting tool for all your lovely dashboards. It's not something we do directly. I think we'll add some basic visuals, but we're really thinking more about in Codeit, we're very good at exporting data to other tools as well. That's an important part of our integration. And so this is sort of our larger picture of all of that. You know, we're just showing you the Nebu survey, the verbatim text coming in and hitting the text analytics. There's some text matching going on there too. You do have the ability to set up more custom rules for the coding, just like you do in the survey for the actions triggered. And then in the next discussion, we'll hit more on our machine learning, which is really a key aspect in all these layers of integration in Codeit. That's where we start interacting with the findings with people who are improving it by helping it correct things that are wrong, add more information around certain codes. And that's because we believe the best way to tackle this issue of getting the most meaning out of your text is a blended approach of all these pieces. You can jump off at any point, but you can keep going as well and build a much more sophisticated system of analyzing text and saving it and reusing it over and over. Of course, the second time you use a code frame that's been trained through this process, it should code a large amount of the content, much more quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
Thank you. Yes, very comprehensive.
I don't know if you're stealing back or do I go?
Maybe just if you could go to the next slide. Actually, I think we are done of the storyline, the webinar, and hopefully that was compact enough and interesting enough. Feel free to reach out to us at any point. We are happy to take it further to offer you some more personalized demo. Everyone has a little bit different needs. And yeah, let's see if there are any questions. Okay, there is one. There is the first one. Hi, can I use code frames directly in the surveys?
Yes, you can, in fact. So that's if you do develop a code frame and you run it through our machine learning process, so now we know we have the examples for the actual codes in the code frame, you can supplant the code frame instead of the text analytics, right? So I don't need the text, I could do both. But if I say this is a succinct list of codes, I could code against the code frame in the survey and use that for my triggers as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. Feel free to post them. Don't be shy out.
There's one, I think there's another one. I have a thought too that around the multilingual aspect, but I'll let you go ahead. Is there a question?
Yeah, can you run the text analytics in multiple languages? Yeah, Peter, Rudy, take over.
Yeah, you can. And we've done a lot of experimentation with some rather significant research agencies around multilingual text analytics, machine learning. And fortunately for all of us, the auto translation gets better and better almost daily. And here's the thing, for the NLP, the text analytics and sentiment analysis to work, and indeed for the machine learning to work, I don't need a perfectly translated verbatim. As you remember, we're focusing on smaller pieces of the verbatim. So those smaller pieces tend to be perfectly translated in most cases, but it's not an absolute requirement. So when I put all the pieces back together into the verbatim, it's okay if it looks a little auto-translated. I still categorize it correctly. Now, you can certainly go in and, human translate to make things look better, but it's not a requirement for the automation. So if that's true, instead of running multiple algorithms in multiple languages, which increases the variance of the findings, I can pick a central language and run it all through, in this case, English, and get excellent results with, little, if any, error. Certainly there'll be outliers, but nothing significant. And with the machine learning over time, it blurs that even more. And so that even if people say strange things that get translated weird, they still may get categorized correctly. So we're doing a lot of experimentation there, because that's an enormous savings of time if you can, centralize the language that you're operating with. But we're happy to experiment more with anyone on that.
Yes, we have another one. Do you have a pre-designed project that can be used, basically plug and play? So basically only changes needs to be done on where the feedback is published. So I will answer that one, Peter. Please listen if I'm answering the right way. So from my perspective, a marketing person, right? The moment someone creates an advanced HTTP request call for me, and I understand them, I can easily apply them by myself. But then this is limited to the particular need. So for example, we have also this advanced HTTP request call for an Ecometer API. It's our partner that helps us offer newly planted trees as a reward for completing a survey. It's a beautiful cause, by the way. And we connect in real time. There is like a unique URL being created upon a completion. And once I got the help from Peter with creating those elements, now whenever I create a new project, I just change like how many trees I want to give on our behalf, on whose behalf. Maybe I need to change just the key to the API. If I do it on a client behalf, then we use their API key. And yeah, so it's really easily you can easily applicate it to a different project, but then it has to be the same sort of call, right? The same need.
Yeah. It's, you know, the learning can be quick. Of course, you know, we're talking about people buying coffee here. So you could create an NPS score for any coffee shop or brand, because you'll see that the results that people give are very similar. It's difficult to say anything about coffee different.
Yeah.
So you can build those custom surveys and their analysis fairly quickly.
Yeah, and exactly, for example, in case of this project, I'm posting a review to HubSpot. So as long as you would like to also post a review to the HubSpot landing page, then it's ready to go. But then if you use a different tool to create your pages, right, then it maybe the API is a little bit different. So we need to make some changes, but then once it's there, you can easily reuse it. Let's see if there are any other questions. Yes, I have another one. How much coding programming was needed to achieve the workflow presented? Peter, you are the one.
None. In short, in more detail, everything that you see, that you saw during the webinar was achieved with built-in expression functions in DevQuest. So no custom coding was needed.
Okay, so just picking up on the information from an API.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? A question? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Looks like that was pretty clear. Or we will have emails. Hopefully, you're welcome to send us emails with questions afterwards if something comes up later. Any questions? Just reach out to us. Yeah. Otherwise, I think. Oh, yeah. There is a follow-up question.
Okay, great.
Also regarding the first question, yeah, so the follow-up to the previous one, so we can use a pre-designed code frame and use Codeit to create smart reports. If a mention is not in the code frame, it will generate a new code, and if we rewrite the last code, it will automatically code take all the new mentions into that code.
That can be fun. That's you know, if you want to do that all within the survey environment, we should, you know, whoever's asking the question, we'd love to talk to you about that, because the API includes all the traditional coding things like add a code and things like that. For the most part, in the, you know, you might be thinking of maybe brands where people mention different brands. There's a specific way to code those as well. But yeah, I would love to talk to you more about that. You could maybe think of this as well. You know, you could train a series of codes or one code that has to do with a positive service experience. Think about anywhere you would shop or any product or service, the language you would use to say it was a positive service experience could span many different business segments. And so the way Codeit works is you could pull in that series of codes, or literally one code, into your code frame and test everything against it. But that code comes with an enormous history of many, many, many surveys that it was already used in. So it's another way to kind of novelly bring in categories to code against in a survey, where you have a lot of history around people talking about service and flavor and your cell phones and your cars and hotels and restaurants. If you think about it, and it's not unobvious, the way we use language to describe those experiences is extremely similar. You know, people say the same things at some point. So you can benefit from this trained library to sort of interactively bring things into the survey. But yeah, we'd love to talk to you more about being more interactive and conversational in the survey. Absolutely.
Yes, we will take it further. Okay. Anyone else? Yes. I'm thinking that's the follow-up, creating solution for feedback in restaurants. We don't want to bombard them with different verbatims. Yeah, we will take it further in a one-to-one conversation, more personal conversation. Definitely, sounds like a valuable addition. Yeah.
Even to just probe them, right? If they say, you know, you're at this restaurant, oh, the food was horrible. Okay, what food? How was it? You know, you could just use it to kind of follow up and get more information. So you end up with a larger description. The more language people use, the better these tools are. But yeah, there are a lot of simple things you could do.
Which this is sort of the thing we want to do for the next webinar. So yeah, we should be looking into that. Yeah. Anyone else? Any more questions? Yeah, I think that might be it for tonight, today. Depending on where you are, it might be a beginning of the day. Thank you so much for joining, for spending the time with us. I hope that was inspiring. I hope that will give you some ideas how you can well, use that functionality within Nebu Dub InterViewer, how you can maybe engage into using Codeit and digital taxonomy tools. We will be happy to help you to take it further. So once again, if you wish to take it further, reach out to us. We will take it with you in more personal demo. Otherwise, I will also share with you a recording from that session, so you can always go back, listen, watch again. That might also answer some questions that will perhaps maybe arise later on. And yeah, please take a look at our announcement. We will be working on the next webinar, another step where we engage a bit more into machine learning and AI together with digital taxonomy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rudy, for a great, it was really a fun and pleasure work on that. Thank you to all colleagues at Digital Taxonomy and Nebu to make it happen. And yeah, see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.